Well, a lot of these questions wind up coming back to one person here, okay? Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, she's currently serving 20 years in prison for conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to sexually traffic minors. She has always denied all of these allegations. The deposition that most recently came out years ago, but now everybody's looking at it again. She denies everything all the way down, literally, like just straight denials, and is waiting on appeal, believes she's going to get out. Her lawyer, Arthur Aidala, famous name in the business, joins me now. Good to see you. Happy New Year.
I appreciate the context you've put everything in about selling clicks, because quite frankly, I was here last night on your show as well. There's a lot of hype around this, but it's a lot of hype about nothing. I mean, it really is, at least, especially from my client's point of view, Ghislaine Maxwell. And just so you know, Alan Dershowitz is also my client.
Right.
So I'm really tainted by all of this. And I understand what Ms. Bryant says. I understand her talking about victims. But where I really come into this case is in 2014, when Alan Dershowitz, who besides being my client is a dear friend, a mentor, someone who did a reading at my wedding, when he was distraught because he was accused of doing something here, right? And he was accused of, he was on the island. He was on the island. Well, you know what, Chris? He was on the island with his wife, Carolyn, with his 12-year-old daughter. And there were all these accusations that he did something horrible. And we fought, and you know how Alan fought. And we fought and we fought. And last November, or November of 2022, the woman who's at the center of all this, Ms. Giuffre, said, I may have been mistaken. Maybe it wasn't Alan Dershowitz. These several times that I said I was abused in several different locations by Alan Dershowitz. So, you know, his name has been cleared 100%. So I am, you know, I'm tainted by the accuracy of some of these claims, because the one claim that we fought, the person told us that she may have made a mistake and apologized, and Alan apologized for all that she went through. So from Ghislaine Maxwell's point of view, who is vehement that she didn't force anyone to do anything, she didn't, and she was actually found not guilty of enticing a young person into doing things. She stands by that. I mean, you made a very good point. You know, Epstein was killed because he knew he's got the list. Why is she safe? I mean, if she's supposedly, you know, going with him side by side, she knows the same facts that he knows, and she's totally fine. People keep asking me, Chris Cuomo, you know, well, why isn't she talking? Why isn't she giving up these names? Well, has anyone ever thought that maybe there are no names to give up?
But I'll tell you, people give up names when there are no names. You know what I mean? I don't have to tell you
my
that.
business now?
I know. We deal with that all the time.
Yeah.
But I mean, just to save herself, because, you know, look, I reviewed the record of that trial. The jury, you know, obviously believed what they were being told by the accusers and the supporting witnesses. And she went down. We'll see what happens on appeal. And I know you got a whole list of things that you think were wrong with the proceedings. But so you're saying Maxwell has no names to offer?
Look, this is what I would tell you, and this is common sense. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Someone who's lived the life that Ghislaine Maxwell has lived, when you're facing I mean, do you remember how they held her pre-trial before she was convicted? I have never seen or dealt with a client, a human being treated the way she was, because don't forget,
and you've covered, so you've handled some doozies.
Yeah, a couple ones. Don't forget, and you know this as well, Chris, when they indict a real bad person, like a John Gotti, you know, viewers are old enough to remember who that is, right? They don't just go after him. They get the 4 or 5 people around him, right? These Wall Street guys, it's the 2 or 3 people around them. They only got Epstein, right? And then when does Ghislaine's name even come into the fold? When he's gone. Now the feds have spent millions of dollars going after Epstein, and now their target is gone. And now all of a sudden they pivot and they're like, well, we got to do something with all of this.
But it's interesting.
And if she was going to talk, that's when she was.
Listen, I get it. It's always kind of bothered me in looking at the equation, because really, you're not saying either of the things that I would expect to hear. One would be, not from you, because I've known you forever and I know how you do this, but one is she knows names. And the other thing is there's a conspiracy here. They didn't want to, you know, whatever happened with Epstein, it was so big that there's someone who they're protecting. And you're not saying either of those things.
No, I'm not saying either of those things. I've been involved in so many cases where things get built up, and then when you actually pick them up. I represented Lawrence Taylor. The day Lawrence Taylor, the NFL greatest, he was just voted the greatest defensive player ever. The day of his arrest, he was charged with rape in the first degree. 9 months later, it's a misdemeanor and probation, and then Gloria Allred takes him to a civil trial. It took the jury 7 minutes to decide he didn't do anything wrong, and he walks out. So I live in this world where these big things disappear into nothing. Look, Ghislaine has a real shot at this appeal, and my only point about why isn't she spoken, she's used to living a very luxurious lifestyle. First, she was tortured pre-trial. Now she's incarcerated for, I mean, she's a woman in her 60s till she's 80. If she had something to say and she had a desire to say it, it would have been said.
Look, here's what we know. Too many girls had too many bad things happen to them at his hand. And she was so close to him. How did she not know? And that's the big question for her to figure out how to answer at court, and then whatever happens with her life thereafter. And if there were people who helped him do it, they absolutely deserve to go down. That's where she's being held right now. Is there anybody else? Is there someone who should be there instead of her? We'll see. But you are always welcome here to make the case, and I appreciate you.
Thank you. And I appreciate you really talked about the clicks, because a lot of this is about selling clicks as opposed to selling the truth.
Listen, when this first started to be weaponized, we'll go to break on this. Thank you to Arthur Aidala. Why am I? All right, so, you know, the documentary, by the way, you should watch it. You can find it, I think, on Netflix.